Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name's Sky. I'm going to be your host for the evening, and tonight I am joined by producer Tom. Jump on in, Tom.
Hi guys, welcome to the regulars and even a bigger welcome to the newbies. 1,795 penguins last night, which was pretty good. It can be a lot quieter, it can be busier. And I'll be keeping an eye on the questions on YouTube. Our Facebook questions will get followed up by our rangers in the next 24 hours. So no spamming, please, and keep it interesting, and we'll see how we go because we do get a lot of questions. Thank you.
All right, so did you hear that? 1,795 penguins crossed the beach last night. So it's still very busy here at the Penguin Parade. Busy with penguins, not so busy with people. You can see a few people in the distance on our stands. But no, we're not full like we used to be in days gone by. And the people on those stands, they are casting their eyes out eagerly to the water, and they are looking for the world's smallest penguin, the little penguin, in the water to see if they're ready to cross the beach. Now you can see it is an incredibly low tide tonight, and it is a very calm ocean. So I reckon we've got a good chance of seeing the rafts come in. We're going to see some penguins arrive just pretty much in the middle of the screen right here, and they're going to cross this half sandy, half rocky beach across here, and we're going to see them come right up to the rocks over here. And then they're going to head on to their burrows for the evening because, of course, they tend to spend their evenings at this time of year in the burrows because they've got chicks, they've got eggs, they've got lots of things going on land. They spend 80% of their life in the water, but 20% on land. And yep, at this time of the year, it's a lot of night times that we see them out and about, mating, looking after their chicks and having a bit of fun. So the land and the ocean that we are looking at the moment is looked after by the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now we've got a bird on the edge of the water, and I'm going to have just zoom in on it because earlier there were Pacific gulls. Oh, I went too far, everybody, sorry. Earlier there was a Pacific gull. Let's see, can we get it to focus? Come on, focus. Now, to me, that looks like a silver gull. It's just a silver gull, or you might know it as a seagull. That's fine. But earlier there were Pacific gulls, at least one, maybe two, that were lurking in this area. And that's not good for our penguins because a Pacific gull would love to eat a penguin. But about this time of night, those Pacific gulls go off to bed. And that's why the penguins choose this time of night to cross the beach, because most of their predators that fly around in the sky that would love to eat them have gone to bed. So they wait till nighttime for that. And we had a question from Georgina. Now, Georgina's from Perth, and she is 7 years old. And she wants to know, do the penguins cross every night? And the answer is yes, they do. They come to this beach every night, and they cross every night. But it may not be the same penguins that we're seeing night after night. It's probably different penguins, because these penguins can spend up to a month out at sea. So they might have spent quite some time. They might have spent quite a few days out at sea before crossing tonight. And then they might spend a night or two in, and then they might go out again. So we're seeing lots of different penguins crossing each night, but we do tend to see penguins every night in all seasons, every day of the year. We've the lowest penguin count we've ever had, I believe, is about 8 penguins. So yeah, every night of the year for as long as we can remember, there's been penguins crossing the beach here in Phillip Island. Now, it's been a while since I've seen you, everybody. I'm just going to zoom out so we have a nice view. I'm going to keep my eye on the water, but I think we're going to have to settle in because it's looking really light and bright out there. It's been a while since I've seen you, everybody. Hello. I don't think I've seen you since, particularly people in Melbourne, since it was announced that soon Melbourne, people from Melbourne and people from regional Victorians are going to... from regional Victoria, are going to be allowed to mix again. The Ring of Steel is going to open up hopefully within the next week, and we're going to be so pleased to see so many Melburnians here at Phillip Island. I hope you are planning your trip down here right now. We can't wait to see you. And I hope that you're factoring in a visit to the Penguin Parade. I hope that you are factoring in a visit to the Koala Conservation Reserve. I hope that you are factoring in a visit to Churchill Island Heritage Farm. These are all the sites that we look after at Phillip Island Nature Parks. We also look after the Nobbies Walk. We look after most of the Southside beaches. A lot of the lovely natural walks that you might like to do, we look after. So make sure you have a look at all the things we've got on offer. And if we haven't announced when we're going to be opening and times and all that sort of stuff, that's going to be coming very shortly. So make sure you factor in a visit to Nature Parks when you come down to Phillip Island, hopefully as of sometime next week, which is very exciting. So that's one way you can support us here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, because we bring you the Penguin Parade every night. But yet we also do important conservation, we do important research, and we do important education work. So if you want to support us, you can come and visit us at our sites. If you're from Melbourne, hopefully very shortly. And if you're not, oh, there's one little penguin. If you're not from Melbourne, if you're not from Victoria, you might be waiting a little while longer, but hopefully we'll be welcoming everybody back nice and quickly. But yeah, if you can't make it to our sites, please do consider a donation to the Penguin Foundation. The link should be in the description. You can become a penguin pal. Oh yes, and there's a penguin we can be a pal of. You can adopt a penguin, or you can just donate to the important work that we do here at Phillip Island. So one very game penguin has washed itself up, and it looks like it's got here and gone, oh no, I'm all by myself. Where's all the rest? And it looks like it's having major regret, and it looks like it's heading back out into the water, or it's just going to sort of hang around on the surface there of the water, but not too keen to come out and show itself. Is going, oh, I've jumped the gun a little bit. None of the other penguins are here. I'm going to have to wait. And that is because there is safety in numbers. They don't want to cross the beach by themselves, because they would be easy pickings for a Pacific gull that might still be awake, for a bird of prey that might still be awake. So it's going to have to wait for its buddies before it makes this dangerous dash across the beach. You can see it just hiding in amongst the rocks now. It might be finding a bit of a sheltered spot in the rocks to wait it out, or it might just be really keen and getting on the way. That would be unusual, but, you know, stranger things have happened. We tend to have a few strange nights here at the Penguin Parade, don't we? If you're a regular viewer, you know all about it. We've had some bizarre occurrences, haven't we? So yeah, one of the things that has happened since I last saw you is that regional Victoria and Melbourne are going to be joined once more. That's very exciting. Another thing that has changed since I saw it, and I got a fright when I saw it today, is that our ephemeral pool has been changed into a stream, and I think that might be to do with the problems we were having with our cameras last week. Thank you so much for being patient. It was so lovely to have a chat with some of you during our reruns. We did a few reruns while our cameras were having troubles, and I was certainly in the comments and having a chat with some of you, and it was really good fun to remember that first night where we watched the penguins cross the beach for the very first time, and to watch Goosegate again as well. So that's been a bit of fun. But yeah, it's interesting to see this new stream where the puddle once was, and it's hopefully keeping our cameras nice and safe, if indeed that is why it has been put in. Another thing that's been happening apparently a lot in the last week, Ranger Megan was telling me, is that we've been having a lot of shell gritters. And a shell gritter is a female penguin who is with egg. She is ready to lay. She's ready to lay those eggs. They're in her belly, and she's building the shell around the outside of the egg. Of course, shells are made of calcium, and these penguins need extra calcium in their diet to build those shells. So at this time of year, when it's breeding season, when penguins are about to lay eggs, what we tend to see is female penguins going the opposite way to all the other penguins. They've spent the day at home in their burrow, and at night time when it's safe, they walk the opposite way down the highway onto the beach where they can nibble on shells to get some extra calcium. So we're seeing a lot more shell gritters. There was a patch where I didn't think we saw many shell gritters at all, but no, apparently it's bouncing right back. So that might mean that we're getting a second clutch through. Apparently, a lot of the chicks that we were seeing before have fledged. That means they've already left their parents and are headed out to the ocean. But yeah, it might be that these parents are ready to go again. It might also be some penguins are starting later. Not sure, haven't heard from the researchers just yet, but we certainly are seeing more laying behaviour, more shell gritters. So that is very exciting for us. That's something that's changed. Last week when I was here, not many shell gritters at all. So it's all exciting times, isn't it? Very exciting times. So I've lost track of where that little penguin is. Let's look out into the distance and see if we can find some rafts. Hang on, I want to zoom out. And let's see if we can get a question from the audience. Tom, has anybody asked any questions?
This is from Ellie Mack. Where do our penguins sleep when they're out in the ocean, and how do they sleep?
Oh, good question. Thanks, Ellie Mack. Where do they sleep? They sleep on the surface. Penguins breathe air. They're not like fish who can survive underwater. No, they need to breathe oxygen in the air, which means they need to come up to breathe about every 2 minutes or so. And when they sleep, they just kind of look a bit like a duck, actually. They've got their little head above the water. The rest of their body is kind of horizontal in the water, and they just sleep above, breathing in the air, and then they wake up and they go off fishing again and go off diving. But yeah, they just sleep on the surface of the ocean. Where in the ocean? I don't know. All about, as far as I know. I don't think they sort of find, a sheltered spot or anything necessarily like that. I think they're just out in the ocean. Wherever they may be, they can have these little sleeps. And apparently they sleep for about 4 minutes at a time. So I imagine they probably go about their business, go, oh, I'm a bit sleepy, little micro sleep for 4 minutes. All right, off I go again, and continue on. Great question, Ellie Mack. Did I answer all of it? Yep, wonderful, great. So I'm trying to see if we've got any rafts. Now, a raft of penguins is a group of penguins that are in the ocean together. Now, penguins tend to spend their days, alone, as far as we know. But at this time of night, yeah, this looks like a raft. At this time of night, they gather together in these rafts, these big groups, and they find each other by calling to one another. And they call, huck, 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 huck. That's what they do. And that's how they find each other. That's how they get into these big groups. Now, it just sort of looks like a black smudge on the ocean there, but that is a whole lot of penguin heads above the ocean darting through, hopefully coming this way, hopefully ready to cross the beach any second now. Now, it's very hard to see because they are far away, but this is looking like a sizable raft. So hopefully they're on their way in soon. So yes, they raft together at this time of night so that they can all come in together and, as I said, cross together in the safety of big numbers. We have been having big numbers recently, 1,795 last night. That is fantastic. And with the more breeding behaviour that we are seeing at the moment, we are expecting big numbers for quite some time to come. And we will be doing these live streams, as far as I know, till at least around Christmas time. So got plenty more penguins to watch. We'll still be here. We've still got you for all your penguiny needs. So yeah, that's looking like a pretty big raft. That's blackish smudge in the ocean. And remember that all of the penguins that are crossing the beach tonight will be counted, I believe, by Paul tonight. Here's our penguin counter. He sits in the skybox. I'll show you that. I'll zoom back out, see if we've got any more penguins on the edge. No. So let's go have a little look at where Paul is. Paul is sitting in the skybox, which is just across here. It is that building in the middle of the two stands there. He's sitting there, he's got his binoculars, he's looking out to sea, and he's going to count all of the penguins that cross the beach tonight. It's a low tide, it's an easier night for him because he's got time to double and triple check his penguin numbers. Another thing that's going to make it a little bit easier for him tonight compared to other nights is that it is looking a little bit sandier. Here tonight. Last time I was here, these rocks were stretching all the way to the water's edge. So we're certainly seeing, I think it'll be a little bit easier. It's hard for him to count while they're in amongst the rocks because their black or blue bodies, blue feathers, blend in with the dark rocks and make it very hard to see. Oh, this looks like a raft coming in right now. Look at that. We have got penguins imminently. Here we go. Watch them wash up on the shore. Hey, little guys, welcome. Now the question is this going to be a big enough raft that they'll start crossing immediately, or are we going to see some classic penguin faffing? And what that means is penguins standing on the edge of the water going, is it time to go? No. And we see a lot of hesitation. This is looking like a reasonably sized group. If there is a couple of game penguins who decide to take the lead and lead the charge, we might see them cross. Oh, looks like they might be going for it. Fantastic. So Paul is going to start counting these penguins once they make it halfway across this beach, because at that point, once they make it halfway, they are less likely to run back to the water if they are spooked. They are more likely to run towards the beach if they are spooked. And we are likely to see some well, that's when he's going to start counting, sorry. So he's going to start counting at that point. And so if you want to wait and start at that point as well, that is helpful too. Oh, we've got more joining in. Fantastic. Now, Tom's just given me a number. Was that on East? Was that right here?
Yeah, but no.
I was going to say.
That's what I said. That's why I took it back.
So what's happened, everybody, just so you understand, is Tom's given me a number and I went, what number are you giving me? Because we haven't really seen any penguins cross. I think they must have been on a different part of the beach that we haven't seen, because I don't see any penguins crossing here. Oh, anticipation. Okay, so everybody, so get a good look at the penguins that we've got here and see how many you reckon it could be. They're flailing out. They are moving slowly, everybody. Can you see that they're moving hesitantly? We've got some who have decided it's not a good time yet and they are waiting in the water. They're going to wait till a bigger raft comes, perhaps. We've got others that are hesitantly going. We've got some that are being a little bit slow at the back there that are going to want to catch up if they're going to make this dash. They might decide that they've left it too late and run back to the others in the water there. But the penguins are on parade. It is all kicking off. We must have a penguin start time pretty soon, if not now. And it's all kicking off. Oh, I love it when there's a lot more sand, everybody, don't you? They're so much easier to see on the sand as opposed to in amongst the rocks. I reckon Paul's pleased as well. He must be stoked that he's not struggling to count the penguins. He might give them a sneaky count first. This is what I would do if I was counter. I would give them a sneaky count first before the halfway mark, and then as they hit the halfway mark, I'd probably do a double check to make sure that I got it right. But at the halfway mark, they're into the rocks. So if I didn't see any run back, or I might just count the ones who ran back instead. Fantastic. All right, so the penguin start time has been called. It is an 8:30 start, same as last night. They've certainly kept me talking tonight. But the count is now on for 50 minutes. So Paul is now not going to rest for 50 minutes while he frantically counts each of these penguins as they cross the beach. So it is the littlest species of penguin in the world, the little penguin, little by name, little by nature. They used to be called the fairy penguin. They used to be called the blue penguin. And they've, of course, always been called the little penguin as well by different people in different places. So here in Victoria, I think we most commonly called them the fairy penguin. That's certainly what I grew up calling them. But as to draw consensus from everybody, we've said, right, everyone's going to call them the little penguins because, yep, some people calling them fairy penguins, some people calling them blue penguins, some people calling them little penguins. Little is literally in their name. Their scientific name is Eudiptera minor, which means good little diver. So they went with the little penguin for everybody to be calling them the same thing. So some people have said, oh, it's political correctness gone mad. No, it's not. We're just calling them all the same thing. It's a big myth. I'm going to debunk that myth tonight. Certainly nothing to do with political correctness, all to do with simplicity. But certainly I grew up calling them fairy penguins. But yep, now we call them little penguins. And they are little, about 33 centimetres tall, 1 kilo in weight. Blue feathers, the only penguin in the world with blue feathers. So I quite like the name blue penguin because I think that's a really fun little fact about them. Oh, they've stopped. You're not home yet, little ones. What are you doing? It's not time to rest yet. Maybe they think they've got to the preening rocks. If you've watched this before, you know that a little bit further along the track, there's a place that they tend to preen. I call it the salon. Some people call it the preening rocks. Some people call it the resting rocks. And they might have thought that they got there. It might just be that it's such a low tide that they're feeling a bit tired. They're having a little rest midway along, and then they'll continue on their journey. So as we watch them cross these rocks, Tom, do we have any questions?
Yeah, from Deb Drummond. How long does breeding season last for, and when does it happen?
Yeah, breeding season. So we're in it right now, Deb. It started early this year. It started in, I believe, August this year, which is a little bit early. We tend to see it more starting around September, but all of the penguins, or a lot of the penguins, got the signal, hey, it's time to start breeding in August, so they started early. We saw a really strong start to the breeding season in August this year. It tends to stretch on until about February at the latest. We might see it end earlier this year, or we might see the penguins going for third clutches this year. Now, that does not happen very, very often, but that is when they have, because they'll have 2 chicks at a time, they lay the eggs hatch, they look after those babies for 8 to 10 weeks, those babies fledge, they have another set of 2, they do that whole process again, and then in really rare years where the breeding season is long and plentiful, they might even go for a third set. So we might, it's really rare, but we might see a bit of that this year if they continue it on longer. We're certainly feeling like we're going to be seeing second clutches of eggs. We assume that we might be starting to see a bit of that around Christmas if it continues as it is now. Of course, the conditions could change. It could all of a sudden get harder, and then we might just see a short breeding season. But yeah, usually about September to February is probably about the time we'll see breeding and breeding behaviour and looking after chicks. All right, so they have arrived on our rocks. Hi, little penguins. And here you can see that little stream that we've built to help the water away from our cameras and our underground area. So if you've watched before, you might have seen the penguin pool that they swim across. Nope, it's no longer there. They're going to have to walk. But it was always an ephemeral pool. It was only ever sometimes there. But just because we had lots of rains recently, it has it's stuck around for longer than usual. It's not raining anymore. Geez, we had a lovely day today here on Phillip Island. I went to the beach and it was delightful. Oh, so let's watch them cross the stream. Oh, that's very sweet. And they're still using the stream. You can see them rushing up the stream there. Some of them are continuing on. Are we going to... let's have a little look. Yep, so some of them are crossing across, but many are going to follow that stream all the way up, sort of behind our cameras, and up into the colony. This colony's got 32,000, that or thereabouts, little penguins that live here, and that is breeding penguins. That doesn't even include the chicks that we've got at the moment. So 32,000 little penguins here, give or take, at the moment. And we know that because we do penguin census. So every few years, our rangers go out there and do their best to count up the penguins. And we get a number from that. Oh, I'm enjoying this little stream. This is fun. Very sweet indeed. Oh, we've got penguins rounding the corner now. I'm going to flick cameras so that we can watch our penguins waddling along the Penguin Highway. So when you come to visit us, everybody, this is a highway that you can walk along. Our boardwalks go right along this Penguin Highway, and you can get really nice and close to the penguins. Not close enough to touch, and you would not want to anyway, and we don't allow it, but certainly close enough to really get a good look at them, to smell them. They smell disgusting, smell like fish, and to be totally surrounded by them. Now, was that a call of more penguins crossing the beach?
That was 35. So
Oh, 35, okay. So I believe that first group might have been about 130, might have been 130. What did you guys count at home? Hopefully it was close because Paul's a pretty good counter. So they're heading on their way home to their burrows, home to feed their chicks. If they are looking really nice and full in this footage, they're probably full of fish that they're going to feed their babies or their chicks. And they do that by vomiting into the mouth of their chicks, which is just disgusting. But it's the penguin baby's favourite foods. It's only disgusting by human parameters. Oh, we've got a few more coming through. And I believe Paul has counted this as 35. See what you think. Now remember, he's only halfway across the beach at the moment, so he may change that figure once they get halfway across, but I reckon he's taking the same idea that I would, which is get an early count in while they're easy to count and then double check it once they're on the rocks. And there's more stretching from the water there as well. Oh, we've got some just above us there. They're just showing off the camera in the front of us, are they? So let's get a question as, ooh, I've just noticed it. Is it a shell gritter in the top there? Let's watch. Oh, I think it is. So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, everybody, when I said that we might have penguins that we see going the opposite way. So chances are, oh, flick back in for me, camera. Yep, there we go. This might be it. I haven't seen where it's come from. It might just be pausing, but there's a good chance that this might be a shell gritter. So this might be a female penguin who has eggs developing in her belly and is heading down to the beach to nibble on some shells. But she looks like she's perhaps got confused. She's forgot what she's doing midway while walking and is just pausing in the highway. So she might get bowled over by the next group. She might walk along with them, or she might then remember, oh yeah, I was heading to the beach, and continue on. One question I get a fair bit when I'm here on the parade is because penguins just stop all the time and you never really know why. But one question I get a lot is, why are the penguins stopping here? And you go, I don't know. I just don't know. They just feel like stopping in that place. That's what they're doing. So it'll be interesting to see how she progresses. All right. So, yep, the penguins are now sprawling across the rocks there. And if you like the look of these penguins, if you think they're pretty cute, I recommend you head to our Penguin Foundation website and see how you can help. So you can donate to the Penguin Foundation, which helps with the conservation efforts for our penguins, but also the animals that live alongside our penguins. You can become a penguin pal. When you do that, you get a little plushie that comes along with it, usually not in a fairy dress. That's just a special occasion one. Ooh, we've got some activity on the top one. Let's actually, I'm going to cross to that. I'm going to have a quick little look. What's going on here? That's a bit of, is that flirty behaviour, everybody? Are we seeing some penguin flirting going on? They seem to be buzzing around each other a little bit. Or is it hassling? I tend to think it's flirting. Certainly one penguin's getting in the other penguin's space. And it might be a penguin saying, hey, do you want to mate with me? And she might be saying, if she is a shell gritter like we think, she might be saying, oh, I've already got eggs. I'm not interested, buddy. But you never know, she might be open to the idea. Now, these two might not necessarily be husband and wife penguins, despite the flirting. Our penguins are a little bit promiscuous. So our penguins tend to have one husband or wife that they come home to night after night. We do tend to see them returning to the same partners night after night. But along the way to the burrow, they might meet up with some other lovely penguins. Ooh, having quite a bit of a party here. They might meet up with some other penguins that they like the look of, and they might see some penguin shenanigans, a bit of penguin mating going on outside of the burrow. And they can, I guess, mate with maybe up to about 6 different penguins in one night. But then they will go home to their husband or wife penguin, their main partner, their main squeeze, and that's who they'll look after their eggs with. So what we see is the female will lay the eggs in that burrow, and the male will look after the egg that she lays, whether or not it is his egg. So let's see. Oh, yep, we've got, looks like maybe more penguins have come along. Yep, we've got another big raft turn waddle turn group of penguins crossing the beach now. Let's get a bit of a closer look at them as they come on in. You can see their white bellies up against these rocks as it gets darker and darker. They're coming in. They're not so scared of predators anymore. They're on the way. But let's see if we can get some close-ups of these penguins on our preening rocks. Oh, no, they don't seem to even be stopping. Oh, yeah, there they are. There they are. All right, let's get a good look at some of these penguins. Let's talk about some of their features. Let's get nice and close. So we've got more crossing above me just there. Let's get up close and personal with these little penguins. So, if the camera will focus. If the camera will focus. There we go. Hello. Ah, yes, okay. Wonderful. So here we go. So in this light, they do look quite dark. They look black and white, but no, I assure you they are quite a vibrant navy, almost midnight blue that we see. They're putting their beaks through their feathers. They are preening. They are getting them back in line because a penguin should not be wet or feel wetness against its body. Oh, it's having trouble with this highly zoomed in bit. I think they're probably moving around a bit too much for the camera to focus. So let's try it a little bit more zoomed out. Let's see if we get better luck here. Okay, fingers crossed this works. So yeah, they're running their beak, through their feathers because they are trying to get them all nice and straight. Now, they should be waterproof. They should not have water touching their body as they swim. And the way that they are waterproof is they have these fantastic feathers. And these feathers are very sort of downy at the bottom, and then at the top they have these structures. It's kind of like Velcro. It's got hooks and barbules, and they'll hook onto one another on their different bits of the feathers, and so they sort of hold it all together. All their feathers are held together and they create a bit of a waterproof coating like that. But also they run a bit of a waterproof oil, I guess, through their feathers. You might see them poking around at their bottoms. That is them stimulating their oil gland and then rubbing that oil through their feathers. It's a nice conditioning coat, and it does help to keep them waterproof. So that's what they're doing at the moment, is lots of preening there, getting their feathers nice and laid flat and straight, ready to perhaps go out to the water again tomorrow. And if you were down there right now, you'd be hearing all sorts of noises. You'd be hearing, and you might hear the cheeping of chicks, like saying, come home, I'm hungry as well. All sorts of noises, and we're working on getting some sound to you, but you might just have to come visit to hear it, which is going to be a whole lot more possible for people from Melbourne coming up soon, we hope. And who knows for the rest of Australia and the rest of the world. Hard to make plans this year, isn't it? So I've got a few more penguins arriving on the edge of the water there. But I think what I might do, because it is very low light, is I might head back to this area and let's see if there's any chicks. Now, Megan told me that a lot of the chicks that we had been watching have fledged. That means they've left their parents, or more accurately, their parents have stopped feeding them and they've had to go out into the water and fend for themselves. Now, some of those chicks were looking pretty healthy. They're looking pretty chunky, so they've got a fair bit of storage, I guess. They're hopefully going to be able to survive a little bit longer because they've got a bit more storage, they've got a bit more food to propel them if they have trouble finding food in the wild. But let's see if we can see any little chicks still at home. So that might be one there, just in amongst the brush there. Now, I'm not talking about the tree guard. I am talking about the little white thing in the front there. It might be a chick, but it is looking pretty old. It's not looking very fluffy anymore, at least to me. You with your bigger screens might have more of an idea than me. Let's cast our eyes along here as well. Do we have any more? Oh, we've got somebody out the front of a burrow. Bit of preening going on. Are you a chick? So we're looking for the fluffy feathers, particularly around the neck when they're older, to see if they're chicks. I'm struggling to tell. My screen is very small. Oh yeah, it might be a little young little one, perhaps. But yet certainly many of those first chicks that were laid in the start of the breeding season are now fledging, which is just fantastic. Starting their penguin-y life, heading out to the ocean, and they'll probably spend a good part of the year, of the next year, just in the ocean, going as far west as South Australia. They go on big adventures in that first year before they come back, usually to the place they were born, which is really sweet. Usually within about 50 metres of where they hatched is where they will set up their burrows. So I think it is about time for us to head on out. I'm going to flick cameras, give you a last look at this penguin highway as they come waddling up. I hope you've enjoyed tonight, everybody. Remember to donate to the Penguin Foundation if you can. Link is in the description. Tom, anything to add?
No, not for me.
All right. So, everybody, it has been a lovely night. We will see you again tomorrow night. But I would just like to say goodbye, everyone. And do you want to say bye, Tom?
See you, everyone. See you tomorrow night.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.